They're cute, they're viral, and they're not old enough to read the contracts that built their careers. Welcome to the world of kidfluencing gone wrong. The first in a series of deep dives into the world of family vloggers, child influencers, and the not-so-picture-perfect truth behind all that filtered family content. Because behind the birthday vlogs, back-to-school hauls, and choreographed pranks, there are real kids living their entire lives on camera, often without boundaries, protection, or privacy. In this episode, we're breaking down the rise of the kidfluencer economy, how parents turn playtime into paychecks, and why the very platforms built to entertain us might be failing the youngest creators of all. This isn't about cancelling content families. It's about asking, where's the line between sharing and exploitation? And who's making sure these kids are safe once the cameras stop rolling? Let's get into it. Kidfluencers, a word that didn't exist a decade ago, but now represents a multi-billion-dollar industry built on tiny stars with massive reach. At its core, a kidfluencer is exactly what it sounds like. A child who gains a large online following by creating, or being featured in, content that appeals to other kids, parents, or brands. Toy reviews, morning routines, day-in-the-life vlogs, dance challenges, unboxings, you name it. Some of these kids have more subscribers than the population of entire countries. And many of them are managed by the same people who tuck them in at night, their parents. It started with platforms like YouTube, where channels like Ryan's World skyrocketed to fame by reviewing toys in living rooms. But as family vlogging exploded, so did the push to turn everyday childhood moments into shareable and profitable content. Today, kidfluencers dominate TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and sponsored ad campaigns. They're featured in brand deals with Nike, Mattel, Lego, and even fast food chains. And the money, it's massive. Top-earning kidfluencers rake in millions each year from ads, sponsorships, and branded merchandise. The camera becomes a full-time job, the home becomes a set, and their childhood becomes content. But the big question isn't just how they got famous. It's what it's costing them, and who's really getting paid. To understand just how dark this industry can get, you don't need to look far. Behind the filtered photos and daily vlogs, there's a growing list of family channels that went from wholesome to horrifying. Let's start with 8 Passengers, a Utah-based family channel led by Ruby Franca. For years, viewers watched as Ruby filmed everything from strict parenting lectures to emotionally charged punishment routines. What started as tough love spiraled into isolation, starvation, and child abuse charges. By 2023, she was arrested alongside parenting coach Jodie Hildebrandt. Both are now convicted and serving time. Then there's Daddy05, the channel that built its brand around pranking the kids. The pranks? Smashing electronics. Blaming them for things they didn't do. Screaming until they cried. They called it content. The internet called it abuse. Eventually, 2 children were removed from the home, and the parents faced criminal charges. And then there's Micah Stauffer, a parenting influencer who built her brand around the adoption of a disabled child from China. She made videos about the process, about bonding, about being a forever family. Then, after the sponsorships and YouTube views rolled in, she rehomed him off camera with no warning and no apology. Each of these families had different stories, different styles, different branding, but they all have one thing in common. They built entire platforms on the lives of children, and then crossed the line. Because when your kids become your paycheck, where does parenting end and performance begin? At what point does parenting cross over into production? In the world of kidfluencing, that line isn't just blurred, it's basically non-existent. Family vloggers will tell you they're just documenting real life. Birthday parties, tantrums, punishments, first words, hospital visits. It's all part of the content calendar. Except, unlike a reality show, there's no crew, no contracts, no rules. And the people holding the cameras, they're the parents. Directors, editors, marketers, and technically employers. Except there's no HR, no union, no industry standards protecting the kids on the other side of the lens. Kids grow up with ring lights in their bedrooms. Milestones become thumbnails. And family life is carefully scheduled around views, brand deals, and algorithm performance. It's not uncommon for vlogging families to post 5 to 7 times a week. And in many cases, those kids are expected to show up, smile, and perform, even when they're tired, or upset, or clearly not in on the joke. Because when your toddler's bath time pulls more views than your haul video, suddenly everything becomes content. Even the private stuff. Especially the private stuff. And the most disturbing part? There's no system in place to say, hey, maybe this is too far. When you're a kid, you're supposed to be figuring out who you are. But when you're a kidfluencer, That identity often gets handed to you, curated by your parents, shaped by likes, and watched by millions. And the psychological toll? It's starting to show. Children raised in front of the camera deal with things most adults would find exhausting. Constant attention, no privacy, pressure to perform, and the haunting awareness that their worst moments, their meltdowns, punishments, and awkward phases are archived permanently online. Some kidfluencers have spoken out as they've gotten older. Former vlogging kids have described feeling like props in their parents' careers. They were filmed without consent, denied privacy, and had no control over their own image. In many cases, they weren't even told how much money they were earning or where it went. And even when the content looked fun, it often came with emotional labor, pretending to be happy, retaking scenes, smiling when they didn't want to. This isn't just screen fatigue. This is identity confusion, anxiety, and trauma tied to a digital footprint that they didn't create, but will be expected to carry. Because childhood is already complicated enough. Now imagine trying to grow up while your entire adolescence is being monetized in real time by your parents. If you think the kids starring in viral videos are getting rich from their own fame, think again. In traditional entertainment, think child actors in movies and TV, there are legal protections like the Coogan Law, which requires that a percentage of a child's earnings be set aside in a trust they can access when they're adults. In the world of kidfluencing, there's no such guarantee. Platforms like YouTube and TikTok don't regulate whether parents save the money or spend it. There's no mandated trust account. No audits, no oversight. So when a family vlog channel rakes in millions from ads, sponsorships, and merch, it's usually the parents who control every dollar. And history tells us exactly how that often plays out. Some former child influencers have spoken out, saying they never saw a dime of the money they helped earn. Others describe having their education, their therapy, even their basic living expenses leveraged against the careers they never chose. It's not just about fairness, it's about ownership. Who owns a child's image? Who owns their childhood memories once they're monetized? And what happens when the line between love and labor gets completely erased? Because right now, in the kidfluencer economy, the answer is horrifyingly simple. The parents own everything. Where is the line? At what point does sharing your child's life become selling it? Is it when the camera's on during a tantrum? When a private medical diagnosis becomes a thumbnail? Or is it when the kid asks not to be filmed and the camera keeps rolling anyway? Because in the world of kidfluencing, that line is almost always crossed quietly, casually, and often with a ring light involved. Some parents say they're just documenting their lives. But let's be honest, no one documents their life 5 days a week with sponsored content, merch links, and strategic cliffhangers, unless they're creating a show. So the question becomes, is this parenting or production? And if it's production, then where are the rules? Where are the contracts? Where is the protection for the most vulnerable people on the screen? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. We already have laws to protect animals on film sets. We do not have the same level of protection for children on YouTube. Let that sink in. The kidfluencer industry is growing. The views are higher. The brand deals are bigger. And the kids? They're still too young to say no. We're watching a generation grow up on camera, without privacy, without protection, and often without a penny to show for it. Because when childhood becomes content, it's not just cute anymore. It's work. And sometimes, it's exploitation in HD. So maybe it's time to stop asking how many views a family vlog gets, and start asking, who's benefiting from this, and who's paying the price? What do you think? Is kidfluencing ever ethical? Should children be allowed on monetized platforms at all? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the scandalous, unsettling, and often unbelievable corners of the internet. This is Inquisitive. Thanks for watching. If you have a family channel you'd like to see us profile in this series, please drop it below.